Hey guys, it's Will from the Back 40, and I hope you had an incredible and happy Thanksgiving. Or maybe you're like me and you're going to be celebrating it tomorrow with your friends and family. Either way, I thought today was a good day to talk about a serious issue in rural America, and that's food insecurity. Now, almost every rural American knows in their bones that the fight to put food on the table has gotten harder, not easier. And that's not because people in rural America don't work hard enough. It's because federal policy decisions are cutting support systems, driving up hunger, and shutting down the very programs that keep families, seniors, and kids healthy. And that's not speculation. That's straight from the new National Rural Health Association's latest report on food and nutrition security in rural communities. I made a promise to you the other day that we're going to talk about solutions as well. So please stick around at the end because we're going to do just that. Rural America already starts at a disadvantage. We're older, we have lower incomes, we have fewer jobs with health benefits. 15% of rural residents live in poverty, far higher than urban areas. And while about 12% of Americans overall live in food insecure households, it's more than 15% in rural America. 1 in 7 rural households depends on SNAP just to keep food on the table. But here's the paradox. Some of the most food insecure places in this country are the very places that grow America's food. We're surrounded by farmland, but many rural communities are full-blown food deserts, 10 miles or more from a grocery store, relying on convenience stores and gas stations that charge more and offer less. And the situation is getting worse because of the policies coming straight out of the Trump administration in Washington, D.C. In 2025, the USDA cut $1 billion in funding that helps schools and food banks buy fresh food from local farmers. That means less revenue for rural producers and fewer healthy meals for rural families. At the same time, scheduled deliveries for emergency food boxes, the TFAP program, were slashed or canceled. Food banks in rural areas, which already stretch every dollar, had the rug pulled out from underneath them. And then came H.R. 1. A law that cuts SNAP by roughly $186 billion. It shifts costs onto states, piles on new paperwork requirements, tightens eligibility, and eliminates SNAP ED, which teaches families how to stretch groceries, plan meals, and eat healthy on a budget. These cuts, according to the report, could push 3 million Americans off SNAP every month, many of them in rural counties. So let's get specific about who gets hurt, because I can already see the keyboard warriors out there saying, who did they vote for? Well, rural children face some of the highest hunger rates in the country. Almost 13% of kids in non-metropolitan households don't have enough food. And guess what? None of them voted for Donald Trump. And when SNAP benefits get cut, we've seen this before, childhood hunger spikes. Hunger leads to developmental delays, poorer health, and even long-term chronic diseases. And rural seniors get hit too. More than 7% of rural adults are food insecure, and many rely on congregate meals or home-delivered meals that already struggle to reach people spread out across long distances. Cuts to WIC and the Older Americans Act, nutrition programs mean fewer fruits and vegetables, fewer hot meals, and more seniors forced to choose between food and medicine. And rural veterans? Well, they're under attack as well. They make up a larger share of rural communities than in urban America, face even higher food insecurity than the national average. These are the people who served our country, and they're being left behind by the food policies of this administration. Now let's talk about the most shocking part of this report. The federal government is eliminating the Household Food Security Report, the main national data set we use to track hunger trends. This is the data every policymaker, researcher, and nonprofit depends on to understand food insecurity. Ending it means we fly blind, and I think that's exactly what they want, especially when rural families are the ones suffering most. Now, the NRHA report lays out how federal agencies like USDA and HHS administer dozens of programs: SNAP, WIC, school meals, summer meals, senior food boxes, and farmers market nutrition programs, but fail to report how much of that funding actually reaches rural communities. And without transparency, you guys know there's no accountability. Rural areas get shortchanged again and again. And even when programs improve, like WIC benefits being updated to align with nutrition science, rural families still struggle with access. Long drive times, no transportation, few stores that accept the benefits, limited clinic hours, stigma, All these barriers add up to fewer families getting the support they qualify for. Now, there's also a huge threat to the food in medicine movement, a federal effort to integrate nutrition in healthcare. Rural hospitals and clinics are already stretched thin. Cuts and restrictions on Medicaid pilots and nutrition intervention means fewer produce prescriptions, fewer medically tailored meals, and fewer proven programs that improve health and reduce cost. And when rural hospitals close, which is happening at an alarming rate because of the Medicaid cuts in the big beautiful bill, people lose not only health care, but also the navigators who help them sign up for nutrition benefits. Without these navigators, seniors, low-income families, and people with chronic illnesses lose access to the programs that keep them fed and keep them healthy. So what are we supposed to do? This report from the National Rural Health Association is very clear. This is the action item. These are the solutions I was talking about. We need to restore the SNAP funding cut in H.R. 1. That includes reversing $128 billion in state cost shifts, $92 billion in new restrictions, and billions more in administrative cuts that choke off access to rural states. We need to protect WIC, school meals, senior nutrition, and summer nutrition programs. These aren't luxuries, they're lifelines in rural America. Thirdly, we need to reinstate the National Food Security Report so that we can actually measure hunger and hold policymakers accountable. Also, we need to expand farmers' market nutrition programs, support community food projects, restore local food procurement, and strengthen programs like GUS NIP that help farmers sell healthy produce directly to families. And we need to fix the tech systems, the application processes, and the enrollment barriers that keep seniors and low-income families from accessing the benefits that they qualify for. This is the bottom line. Rural America cannot be healthy without strong, well-funded nutrition programs. SNAP, WIC, school meals, senior meals, they're not handouts, they're investments. They reduce hunger, they prevent disease, they keep small grocery stores open, they support local farmers, and they keep rural communities alive. These programs pay for themselves 7 times over in the long run. Cuts to these programs force families, seniors, children, and veterans into crisis. And when we starve rural America, we guarantee worse health outcomes, more hospital closures, and a cycle of poverty that becomes harder to escape. Rural America, along with all America, deserves better. Our families deserve better. Our seniors deserve better. Our kids deserve better. And if lawmakers won't fight for rural America's right to healthy food, then rural America needs to elect leaders who will. And now I'm talking to you, rural America. The bottom line is, and you can look at the facts and study the data, there is only one party in this two-party system right now that is fighting to procure and save the programs I just talked about. My friends, it is time to put the culture wars beside. It's time to lay them on the counter and leave them there for posterity, because they're going to look back on us in rural America, all of us here that live in the small towns and farms and ranches, and they're going to say, did you actually choose the culture wars over the children of rural America, over the seniors of rural America, and over the veterans of rural America? I don't know about you, but I don't want to look them in the eye and say, yes, yes, I did. So, leave the tribalism behind. Leave your cultural religious vote behind. Vote for the politicians who are fighting for the policies that will benefit rural America, the Democratic Party, in the upcoming elections and in the midterms. It's time for us to make decisions that benefit us. Then there'll be no need to complain when the problem isn't solved. Thanks, and I hope everybody has an incredible Thanksgiving.